So my name's Diana Hobbs and I've been working back at Sandhill for, I think this is my 8th season. I worked in flat racing for 10 years before that on the Darley Flying Start in America and Australia and Charlie Hills for 2 years. And then came back here and I mainly run the syndicates. So we've got 2 Philip Hobbs syndicates and then got a couple new partnerships. So mainly do that and then do all the photos and videos for the owners to send those out and just do general office admin really. So my granddad's and my dad's dad, Tony Hobbs, he came to Sandhill back in the 1960s I think, and then it was mainly cattle farms. So the 2 barns we got out there were turned from cattle sheds to racing yards. I think Rooster Booster, when he won the champion hurdle, we suddenly got more horses back in 2003. So the farm slowly converted to racing stables. And my mum's dad, Bertie Hill, he was Olympic gold medalist, and we were very lucky that actually he taught us to ride when we were kids because he was brilliant. And unfortunately he died when I was probably about 15. So, but he was very, very good, and he had a riding school down in Devon where Princess Anne came down to train, and yeah, that was pretty amazing really. So been very lucky to have been brought up in the horsey world. I didn't really know he was an Olympic gold medalist until someone told me and I googled it and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, very, very modest. I was very fortunate to grow up at Sandhill. My grandparents lived next door. My parents were away a lot racing, but we were very fortunate. We had ponies, and I think the first time I said to Johnson, can I ride out when I was about 8? I thought it was just, you could just go flat out at the gallop. And Johnson was like, I think you should go around the roads for a few days. But very lucky, and then rode in point to points when I was 16, and I was very fortunate and had about 18 winners. My sister had about 20 winners, and I've got mates from point to point days still now, and just had a lot of fun. Never wanted to do it professionally because I wasn't good enough, and also if I fell off down the back straight at point to point, no, I just said it was the horse's fault, probably mine. But yeah, really lucky and really enjoyed it. So growing up with lots of lads, I think my parents sent us away, so so we were well behaved. I think my mum's a big part of it because I think any trainer or jockey has to switch off, and just having things like having hobbies outside of racing is really important. And I think just having a routine as well, like he's very much a routine man, like, you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and going to bed at a normal time. He's lucky he sleeps through, whereas I think some trainers probably don't with all the hassle. But just keeping level-headed, and also I think we're quite lucky having summer. We tend not to have lots of runners, so you get a bit of switch-off time, whereas I mean, amazing what Fergal O'Brien's done over the summer. He's done incredible, but I think he must really need a switch-off time because he's trained, I think, 40-odd winners already this season, but he's been going for so long, whereas we have, you know, we've had quietish summer, which has been quite nice, and then the winter's obviously busy, but they've got a little holiday house down in Exmouth, which I think is their escapism, which is just for a couple of nights, one night on a Saturday night, go down there, switch off. But he's always on the phone, and I think owners like him because he is very good at communicating. I tend to send the photos and videos, but he would speak to an owner once a week during the season. You know, talk about entries, declarations. The next morning he'd ring them to make sure the horse is fine, and he's very good at communicating, which I think a lot of owners like. And we try and we've not had a owners day this year just because we've got lots of syndicates and we tend to like more private days. So, you know, people come to the yard to see their horse and try and give them more of a personal experience really. Obviously without owners like JP and Gigginsdown, like they kind of support a lot of racing trainers, but there's a lot more syndicates now, which is good. It's good fun, affordable way to racing, and I really enjoy running the syndicates. And it, you know, the racecourse have got a lot better at looking after owners, which is good. Probably the return that owners get, the prize money, is obviously a bit of an issue, because I think back in the day when my dad started training back in 1985, he said that the prize money would cover the training fees, whereas unfortunately having a horse in training, you've got to feed it, you know, bed it, the wages. It's not cheap, unfortunately, and the prize money, unless you get a good horse, it's hard to pay their way really. So that's why syndicates are probably more popular, because more affordable, spread the cost and things. Keeping owners in racing, because and I think the BHA are trying to do something about it, but having, like I said earlier, back in the day when most owners could win prize money to cover the training fees, whereas now you can't. And would you rather spend the money on your children or look after a horse? It's difficult. So I think that's a big challenge. The betting, obviously, looking into affordability checks, that's a big problem. I think a lot of people just enjoy betting just for the Saturday, just for an afternoon. Do they need to really be checked? If they have a problem, then they probably should be, but things like that. And just sometimes I find the BHA are very much against trainers and possibly jockeys, like with the whip ban and things like that. I just feel like they need to get more people that understand horses and racing into yards to understand that. And I think actually, on a good thing, National Racehorse Week's been brilliant. Like, that's been very good. Just, we had 100 people here last month, and just showing behind the scenes. And I had someone come up to me the other day and said, like, they're just so well looked after, which they are. Like, they get breakfast, lunch and dinner. They're looked after on Christmas Day, on a Sunday, on a Boxing Day. Like, they're very well looked after, the horses. And I think behind the scenes, people need to see that a bit more. Like, on the positive note, like Newmarket, the racing school's good, and up north, the Doncaster Racing School's good. But I guess just recruiting people, and it is a fun job, but it probably is more of a young person's job maybe, because unfortunately, like we're lucky that our senior staff have been here for over 30 years, for a long time, but the progression in it is difficult, because you've got your head girls, your head lads, and your travelling head lads or lasses. Like, progression is probably a bit difficult. But when I worked in Lambourne, I was paying 400 quid rent, 400 back then, like 8 years ago, on my house, whereas here we get a house with a job, which a lot of people do have, which is good, really. Whereas, like, I've saved up since moving back from Lambourne, to be fair, because I've got a house with the job. So we try and offer good accommodation for that. And we are a good yard, I think. Like, we try and recruit, like, we try and look after the staff, really. And racing welfare's been good, actually. Like, this Wednesday they put on a quiz night for all the staff, and they do like a rounders night in the summer when it's not raining. Does it mainly privately, but he does have an Irish agent, Brian Murphy, who's been doing that for 30 odd years. He's brilliant. He's bought horses like Zanza, Time Hill. Time Hill, I think, cost 30 grand, and he's been a brilliant horse one, some grade ones. And Guy Petit in France buys a few, and then Dad he likes to mainly do it himself, mainly looking at the page, but also I think the horse as an athlete's the main, most important thing, really. And then actually this year Johnson's gone up to sales with him. We bought some horses from Cheltenham, but he does back in the day a lot of people bought store horses, but owners don't want to spend a year, 2 years on training fees, so a lot of horses this year we bought with form, so they're ready to run when it rains. I think What's Up Boys in the Grand National when he was second to Bindery, I think it was 2003 maybe? I need to look that up, but What's Up Boys when he was second to Bindery, and I remember watching the horse as a kid with my sisters, and Nigel said to my dad, "Well done, your first Grand National winner," and Bindery and Jim Colotti came past and just beat us, and that was pretty gut-wrenching, because no one remembers the second, everyone remembers the winner. So as a yard, I think it would be a Gold Cup winner or Grand National winner, because we've had lots of 2 seconds in a Grand National and a third in the Grand National. Gold Cup, I think Moncoston was placed as well, so I think after 3,000 winners we deserve a Grand National or Gold Cup winner, and hopefully we've got some nice young horses in the yard that will do that. I would pick Time Hill, hopefully. I think he's going to Wetherby beginning of November over hurdles, and I think if he stays over hurdles he'd have a good chance at stay at hurdle in March. I've always loved Comprond. He's quirky, but he's a good horse, and great to have a good horse like that for JP. And I like Livion Luco, who's in a partnership, the Philip Hobbs Racing Partnership. He's a really nice horse by Malinas, and he's just Emma, who rides him mostly in the yards. He seems to be working quite well, so hopefully he's one to look forward to. I was very fortunate and had the opportunity to do that, but I think Johnson's worked here for 30 odd years, so since I was 3, and he deserves it. He works 7 days a week. He does deserve to be on the licence, and I think maybe in the future, if I maybe was with the right guy, because I don't think I'd like to be the head of it. I think you have to be mentally very strong, and I think Dad's mentally very strong, but I think maybe in time, but not now. I enjoy my life at the moment.